Alrighty, hello everyone, and welcome to the Reformed Dissenters, the show where Reformed Christians, that would be, myself and everybody who is joining me today, dissent against popular ideas of culture by asserting a biblical world view. Thank you so much for watching us today or listening to us. If you're watching us, you may see that I'm in a different place today. I'm actually here. My name, by the way, is Bruce Johnson. I am joined here in Pennsylvania with my brother Jacob Johnson.
Hello.
And we're actually in our Pennsylvania studio, if you will. So I am here.
I like the sound of studio.
This week. Right, studio. It is a nice studio. We're also joined by Joseph Lassiter.
Hello.
Who is joining us remotely from
South Dakota.
From the wonderful state of South Dakota. That is right. So thanks for joining us today, Joe. Don't forget, go to trdshow.net, trdshow.net. That stands for The Reformed Dissenters. That's our website. We got a list of links to all of the many platforms we're on. Go to that website. Check it out. We've got all sorts of cool stuff on that website, trdshow.net. Check it out. I mean, I can't hype it up any more than I already have. I feel like I've hyped it up a ton over the past couple months.
Continue hyping.
I'm going to continue hyping because I want more traffic. I want more site traffic. I want more people to sign up for an account on trdshow.net.
And it's not just you. The rest of us want it too.
Yeah, right. We all do. Collectively.
The crew here at the Reformed Dissenters wants you.
We would really appreciate it.
Yeah.
To sign up for an account. Yes.
He says it more eloquently than I do. But, yes.
Still stated, so that's the important thing.
Yes.
trdshow.net. Sign up for an account today. Go to trdshow.net/refer, where you can start earning points towards free merch. That means you can get a free sticker, free mug, free t-shirt, all sorts of actual free stuff, not government handout free, which is not actually free. Also, send us an email at trdshow at protonmail.com. Again, that's trdshow at protonmail.com. We would love to hear from you, hear your thoughts on the show. Do you like the new format? Yes or no? We do. Do you? I don't know, because you haven't sent us an email to tell us. So we want to hear you. Also, send us some topic ideas. Today is Topic Friday. We're discussing video games, actually. How should Christians view video games from a scriptural perspective? How should Christians view video games from a scriptural perspective? But if you have topics that you'd like us to discuss, send us an email at trdshow at protonmail.com. We would love to hear from you. Before we get to our topic discussion today, I'm actually going to pass it over to Joe to read off the verse of the week. Take it away, Joe.
All right. Philippians 2, 9 through 10. Therefore God has highly exalted him and bestowed on him the name that is above every name, so that the name of Jesus every knee should bow in heaven and on earth and under the earth.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Joe.
Mm-hmm.
All right, great. And with that, we're going to jump right into our discussion topic today. Again, as a reminder, our discussion is how should Christians view video games from a scriptural perspective. So I'm going to just lay some groundwork before we get started, before we get into this. Lay some groundwork. And first of all, I want to define the term video game. What do we mean when we say video game? Okay, I define it as any game played on a digital device. So this can be a mobile device, whether that's a tablet or a phone. It can be a computer. It can be a console, so an Xbox, PlayStation, Wii, whatever. Those are all video games. What's that?
Switch. Nintendo Switch.
Switch, right, yeah, all the things, yeah. So those would all be, I consider those video games. Do you guys agree with that definition before we move on?
I would, yeah. Multiple different types of video games can change the argument depending on what they are.
Right, because Wii games are more active and...
Yeah, certainly.
Pretty much any device that has a screen that you have to push buttons and it involves a screen.
You push buttons to play it. Yeah,
mm-hmm.
I got you. Cool. So that's number one. Number two, I think you kind of both know my position on this. So before we do get started, I want to state what my position is succinctly, to the point, without backing. I'll back it up later, but I want to let you all know where I'm coming from before we start. That way nothing gets misconstrued. So here's my official position, what I believe, okay? I'm not saying video games are evil in and of themselves. I don't believe that they're wrong, sinful in any way. They're a tool, right? So they're not evil. But ultimately, it comes down to the individual person to decide for themselves whether it is something that they can spend a lot of time doing or not. And we're going to talk a lot more of that later, about that later. So, those are my 2 ground rules. First of all, what a video game is. Second of all, I don't believe that they're evil. I just think that there's lots of other things that we can put on them. So, who wants to kick things off? Anybody got a pro or con they want to start with?
I think
I can.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay. I wanted to make sure I didn't have an echo. I think I can very much agree with the state that video games in of themselves aren't evil or bad. Honestly, I would say there are some games that are definitely you don't play because in that game in of itself is evil. Like, I think it's Grand Theft Auto and how they have pornography all through that. That is definitely evil. I would say that's evil because that kind of goes... I don't think it goes against the 10th Commandment, but...
Oh, it definitely does.
But technically, that's not lusting, right?
That is.
I would say.
I would consider that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Anyway. So, that aspect, it's being used for evil intention, obviously.
Yes.
So,
yeah, that's a good point. And,
are good, not all are evil. Some can be good, some can be bad.
Yeah, for sure. Totally. And, one thing that I did want to bring up, actually, as I separated my things into pros and cons, so I'll bring up one of my cons that kind of relates to exactly what you were just talking about, which is that in 2011, 75% of gamers, and I'll have this linked in the description below. By the way, any resources that you guys all want to state, we'll put those in the description below so that people can be well informed in what we're talking about. So, in 2011, 75% of all gamers identified as someone who played violent video games. Only 25% said they typically played non-violent video games. So, that is, I could hear the other side, which is that, well...
And I'll bring up the other side anyways.
Yeah, which is that, it's like, okay, well, that's bad for them, but we wouldn't do that. But there's a danger there of the gamer community affecting you in negative ways if you're within that community. How would you respond to that?
That does kind of make sense and understandable. God does talk about the company which you keep.
Yeah.
In that is talking about a lot of different influences, and especially what you find on the internet, and those are big influences as well. So certainly making sure that those are correct as well. But I definitely do not think that just because the majority of people do something does not mean
that you have to
that's
as well.
Right. And not even that is that's the statement of that
thing,
yeah. Right? So just because it's being used by sinful man in one way does not mean it has to always be used by sinful man in that way.
Yeah.
And it's, again, I want to go back to the argument of guns, because if we're talking about, I said I want to go back to, but what I mean is, like,
you want to go to.
I want to go to that argument because people want to say that, oh, guns cause violence. No, guns are are in and of themselves neutral. Like, it just depends on what the person
is. It's a piece of metal.
Right. It's what that person is causing them to do.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying all video games are neutral, that in and of themselves they're okay. What I'm saying is that just I'm equating it to that argument that just because it's used in one way does not mean us as Christians shouldn't take it over and use it the correct way. And even more incentive for us to be involved in these video games, us to...
That's a good point.
Yeah.
That's
for
a
us
good
to
point.
bring it back.
Yeah.
To the correct viewpoint.
Yeah, and that's a really good point to bring up, and I'd love to get your thoughts on this as well, Joe. You know, Jake just brought up the point of, well, we're always talking about kingdom work, right? Kingdom-oriented. We're building the kingdom of God here on earth. We're working towards that goal. We're working on every knee shall bow, every tongue will confess, right? And so what that means practically is that in all areas, there's not an area of life that Christ doesn't scream mine, right? And we've talked about that before. And so part of that additionally is video games, right? Since it's not inherently sinful in and of itself, that means that it is an area that we do need to take from Christ. So that's a really interesting point to bring up. Joe, what are your thoughts on that?
I very much agree with that aspect. And since we're talking about it, there have been some video games that have been known to help with vision. Crazy. But there has been some video games out there that have been used to help fix vision, especially the lazy eye. So,
interesting. Wow.
And another thing that I saw was it helped with making decisions faster. It can help with that aspect as well. So that's kind of besides the point. But yeah, I have to say that is true with what Jake said.
Yeah.
Yeah, there are multiple, like, I have an article which shows 12 ways video games can help you. Just quickly, there are some video games where it will give you the ability to overcome dyslexia, apparently. Improve your vision, or make you more physical. Make you more creative.
Creativity benefits. Yeah. And so you'll link this article in the description.
Yeah.
Send that over and cool.
And this is another one which creativity for sure is something that I think is definitely possible in games like Minecraft. But also what was this one? Okay, here we go. Make faster decisions in life. In multiple games, and this is specifically going back to sort of fighting games. We can, games. So, and I wanted to bring this up as well, and so I want to preface it with this point before I go into this other point, and I want to preface it with saying that what I think is that video games, which have another ultimate objective other than just mindless killing, is wrong.
Yeah.
No,
those are good.
Those are good.
Just mindless killing is wrong.
There we go. Mindless killing is wrong.
Yeah.
So games like Fortnite or BRs, just in general. BRs are battle royales.
Oh, okay.
Just in general, I don't think they're...
pretend like I know what that means.
Yeah, I don't think they're good, overall good. I also have a little bit of a problem with MOBAs. Those are a little bit of a, maybe...
What are MOBAs?
So I don't know what the acronym stands for, but it's basically like a 3-lane map, and that you're working on each lane.
Okay.
And you're pushing towers, and you're pushing these minions into the towers, destroying towers, and getting to their base.
Interesting. So it's kind of like a puzzle game?
Kind of, no, but... like Kingdom Rush.
Oh.
Kind of like Kingdom Rush.
So like a tower defense game.
Basically, but you're not the tower. Okay. You're not creating the tower, you're the actual person.
Interesting.
Destroying their towers in order to get to their base.
Wow.
I think it's a little bit less of that objective. There still is that objective. But in order to obtain money, in order to obtain items and all these other things, you need to kill other people. You can obtain it in any other way. In some other ways. But, I have it, again, that's... long-winded here.
Get to the point, man.
Yeah, exactly. But, so I get you could make an argument either way for the MOBAs. But what I'm talking about is strategic games, where there is a more overall objective.
So kind of what you're saying is it depends on the game. Right. It's this type of game that you're playing. The 25% of gamers in 2011 that identified as non-violent gamers who play non-violent games, that's the group that we fit in as Christians, right? Would you say?
For the most part, which I mean, it would depend on your definition of violent. If
Sure.
you mean
That is kind of subjective in a way.
eliminating or taking out someone on the enemy team, if you consider that violent,
No, I think violent is more the gore, the blood, the graphical.
then I would definitely consider us not. I would
Right.
definitely consider
I
us
think it's
being a
also
part of that
just more
25%.
killing
Then.
for the sake of killing. You know?
Yeah, again, I would consider us part of the 25%.
Yeah.
Because a game that I like to play called Overwatch, it's very involved with tactics where it's just 6 people versus 6 people, and it's very much like you have to coordinate with your team in order to. And then that's another point. You're coordinating. You're learning how to work with a team, working in a team environment.
Yep.
And You're pushing an objective. You're capturing an objective. You're working to another goal other than killing the other team. Now, of course, that happens, but that's not the overall objective. You could probably, maybe, not sure, win a game in Overwatch without killing anyone. Maybe, would be hard. But
Oh,
hold on, Joe.
okay.
I'm sorry. That long-winded explanation was to go into this point here, and so we don't lose track of that point. I wanted to say that this faster decision-making, I think, really has a good impact on your life. Like, when you're in a game, you're looking at different things, especially in that game Overwatch, like I was saying. There are multiple things going on, and it can really help you just single out one thing and focus on that thing, get it done, and move on to something else. It can really help you make good decisions quickly. And then, but the article here does not talk about it. There we go. The article literally says this isn't necessarily about learning how to make the right decision. It's about learning how to decide, which I would disagree with. I think in learning to decide, as the article says, you need to also be learning to make the right decision and using the Bible to know what is the right decision.
Yeah.
But that's not necessarily something a video game teaches you, but that's something that your mindset and your philosophy should teach you.
Yeah.
Right? That you understand, you take this principle that you learn in a video game, you pull it out, and then you apply the Bible to it. As we know with everything, we apply the Bible to it.
Clearly, this is Jacob's favorite subject. We've honed in on one of his specialties, so very cool. Yeah, thanks for sharing, Jake. Joe, what was the point that you wanted to make there?
Well, I'm gonna take the other side of the aspect of what games? The Fortnite and PUBG and all these other games, and well, say they're not all just shooting. The main isn't all about just shoot and be done. Sure, that's kind of the main ballpark of the game, and I will say I am a Fortnite hater, but I'm going to actually defend Fortnite this time. and say it's not rather than just, especially like the battle royales, it's not just the fact that you are going to shoot and kill somebody. Yes, that is the end objective, to be the last man standing. Great, thanks, Darwinism. Survival of the fittest. Had to make that joke. Anyway, but it's about strategy on, okay, with these battle royales, you get thrown in, and you, depending on how long these games last, you have to be able to find food, you have to be able to find shelter, and you also have to defend yourself against all the other teams that are trying to come against you. So while maybe, yeah, it sounds like it's let's go just kill somebody just to kill somebody. Well, in the end, it's not really just killing just to kill. It's you have to strategize to figure out how are you going to kill and win in the end.
Yeah.
Now, do I agree that spending hours upon hours upon hours on it in one single sitting?
And
no, that can do a whole lot of brain damage.
Yeah,
but
and if I
one
could,
game here or one but one game here or one game there.
Yeah.
That's Call of Duty is actually the one game that all of us as a family can actually agree on and play together.
That's really interesting. And I think, I do want to take that one point and just kind of speak to that you just made, Joe, that I think was really good. On my cons list, one of the things that I have is, like a lot of other things, video games can be highly addictive, right? Like a lot of other things. It's not just exclusive to video games. It's anything that you put over God, right? It can become an idol that we put before God. So knowing when to play them and what part they play in your life is important. I think a question that we need to ask ourselves is spending a large amount of time in a digital world where you aren't building practical things that contribute to society or kingdom growth a productive use of your time? And notice I said the keywords, I said large amount, right? I totally understand that there are times for relaxation, right? God gave us wine and alcohol to help us relax and calm down, right? He gave us all of these sorts of things and has clearly called us to times of relaxation. We have an entire day dedicated to rest, right? Yeah. So relaxation is important. And as long as we don't put our relaxation above God, and this can happen for anything. I mean, I play a lot of music. If I put my music above God and make it an idol, that's a problem. Anything that you do, whether it's outdoor biking or hiking or running or whatever it is, anything can become an idol. But we need to make sure that when we play these video games, that we're not turning them into idols, and that needs to be really important. So we know where it fits. So this whole discussion that we're having should really just, it applies to a small part of our lives when we're actually playing video games, right? Because we spend most of our day working, praising God, glorifying Him, reading His Word, working for the kingdom, talking with other people, going out in the world, and then when we come home and we need a break, we then play video games. Also, I will say, on my pros list, is it does allow for people across the world to collaboratively build things, right? In a virtual world, you can connect and keep people connected across the world and build stuff in a virtual world together, right? So that's an option too. Part of what I just said was we should spend most of our time going out in the world and being with other people and communicating with them on that level. But what if we don't have that option, So if we don't have that option, video games are a good alternative. I mean, some games can actually be an art form, like Minecraft, right? You can use it and make art together inside of it. You can be very, very creative with it.
Yeah. We're not denying that video games have things in them which can help you.
Yes.
Going back to your point, though, Joe, this is kind of a debate now, but I feel strongly that BRs are not good forms of games because, again, we go back to that overall objective. What is the overall objective? Being the last man standing. How do you be the last man standing? By killing everyone else. Understandably, you're surviving, but that
survival's at the cost of others.
Right. You're still putting yourself in a position which is causing you to either kill
or be killed.
Right. And again, you are choosing to play this game
and put yourself in that position.
And put yourself in a position which makes you mindlessly kill.
Yeah.
And I say mindless because the more you play a game like that, the more you become desensitized to killing.
Which is why 75% of gamers play violent video games.
Yes.
They become more and more desensitized to that, and it propagates a community where that's acceptable.
And I have to believe that there is a sinful nature, and there's a sinful aspect in us that likes to do that. Likes to kill.
Gravitates towards that.
I don't necessarily...
look at Cain and Abel.
Yeah.
The first, second generation of humans?
Yeah.
And he's already killing his brother.
Mm-hmm.
We gravitate towards violence, unfortunately, with our fallen nature. That is something that we gravitate towards.
Yeah.
And we need to be aware of.
And again, we can go case-by-case basis and game-by-game basis.
Right. And like I said at the beginning, it varies, depending on the person. Right? It does matter whether you are a person who gravitates more towards that or not, right? Yeah.
And for me to say, and I would say that it does depend on the person, but for me, for someone to say that, oh, it would do for like someone playing Fortnite or a BR like that, for someone to say, oh, people don't think of it like that.
Yeah.
Yes, but still, you're choosing to play a game with which advocates and encourages the mindless killing aspect.
Yeah.
Whereas you could be
point.
playing a game, and especially if you're playing it with your family, you can be playing a game which involves your entire family being on one team, providing tactics, communication, and pushing forward to an ultimate objective. To me, that's far better than choosing a game which is just mindless killing.
Yeah.
Now, you did also mention Call of Duty, COD, which it's called COD.
Really?
Yeah.
It's a
But
yeah, that's the acronym.
But I don't exactly know about it. Now Warzone, I don't think I agree with, because I think isn't Warzone a BR?
I don't know.
But Call of Duty Warzone, isn't it? Aren't they the same? They might not be, and I might be totally wrong on that. Not into the whole Call of Duty world, but but I think Call of Duty, doesn't it have other things you can do in it, like capture the flag and all those other types of game modes?
If you're getting down to that version of capture the flag is, well, they're gonna shoot you or you shoot them to capture the flag, and essentially it's like paintball. If you have a problem with, well, honestly, I'll just say it this way: if you have a problem with these types of shooting
paintball
games,
or laser tag,
then you have to say that make that apply to like paintball, shooting, or not paintball, paintball, airsoft, and laser tag too. Honestly, because in the end goal is to shoot to kill.
Yes.
In the end, sure, you're not actually killing somebody, but in the end, you have a life point game, and you're trying to destroy that life point game so that you can gain points.
Yeah.
So,
but my main question is, what is the ultimate objective?
As moderator, 3 minutes left. Final statements. Let's wrap it up.
And I would say, if you are going to that point of laser tag, I would say yes. Let's apply it to laser tag. Let's apply it to everything, right? And to say, but I'm not saying get rid of laser tag entirely. I'm saying change the way you play laser tag. Because I don't think it's totally wrong.
Yeah.
I would just say in laser tag, instead of just going out killing everybody, go out and your team captures an objective.
Yeah.
And you should defend yourself on that objective against all the other laser tag people. And
learn teamwork as
Right,
opposed to just
right.
wanton killing for points.
Exactly. And because that does cause you to start thinking of that in that
and then you
sense.
join the 75% horde.
Exactly. Yeah. So
Awesome.
Final statement.
All right, Joe, any final remarks to wrap things up today?
It's just video games is a big, broad topic.
It is.
And
there's a lot to consider.
Even if you apply shooting the shooting games like the paintball, so forth and so on, in all video games, especially the first-person shooter games, there is a strategy to it, and that's kind of why a lot of people gravitate to the first-person shooters, because there is a lot more strategy, and us guys, we're logical thinkers, we like strategy, and that's kind of why first-person shooters are really, I don't know, I lost my words. But anyway, that's why a lot of guys like to go to the first-person shooters, because it involves a lot of strategy just to try and destroy, especially since there's a lot of people who like to play games, but they lose a lot of friends just because somebody won, or in a team situation, there was somebody who didn't, well, the fact that somebody didn't fulfill their end of the bargain, if you will, or they did less work than others.
Yeah.
So it's a 6 and 1, half a dozen and the other type of deal.
Yep. Absolutely. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Jake, you have a final remark? Like
No,
30 seconds?
I want to go into
this
more.
was really good stuff
Yeah.
that you were saying. Really liked it. Like, this was I enjoyed this discussion. My final point that I'd like to bring up is just that I would argue that video games are not for young children who haven't learned personal responsibility and how to structure their time in productive ways. And you can apply this to lots of different things, not just children, but adults who aren't mature in those areas as well, and aren't able to structure their day in a way that only gives them a half hour or 45 minutes to play video games, right? As a wind-down time at night. And I understand, there's exceptions. This is not a hard and fast rule across the board. I can't say, if you play more than 45 minutes, you're in sin. No. Ultimately, as long as you are getting your work done, it's not an idle, and you have it set aside just a specific time of day, and you're not making that your entire life. Your life is your family, the people in real life, and God, ultimately, right? Then I don't think that there's a problem. But I think we can get into addiction, and we can get into all those other things, which we did earlier, and that's when a problem occurs. Do we all agree on that?
Mm-hmm.
Cool. Sweet. We wrap this up in agreement. How about that? Awesome. Well, if there's nothing else to add, I will go ahead and wrap things up today. Very cool. Thank you all so much for watching us or listening to us today. We really, really appreciate it. Don't forget, like us, subscribe to us, go over to Rumble, Odyssey, Gab TV, not YouTube. If you're on YouTube, thanks for that. But now's a good time to go ahead, go to trdshow.net, and go on over to platforms that will not censor us. Which, by the way, if you missed it last week, we were censored on YouTube. So it's already begun. They deleted episode 4, which, by the way, talks about how Trump won. And you can check that out on Rumble, Odyssey, and Gab TV. Check out episode 4 today. Go to trdshow.net, and that's where you'll find a list of links to all the many platforms we're on. Send us an email at trdshow@protonmail.com. We'd really, really, really love to hear from you. And until next time, we will see you on the next episode.
And remember, everyone, in all that you do, do as unto the Lord.